What's up, guys? Bitcoin and Chris, what's going on, guys? No harm in doing bolt-ons and tune on 140K miles engine. No, I wouldn't worry about that at all. On my 325, I had 200K on it before I started doing anything. Or actually, I think I bought it at 190K, and I did bolt-ons and then Nitrous. And then it lasted till 240K with the Nitrous. No, I don't think it would reduce the lifespan of the engine for just NA bolt-ons. Even supercharging it probably wouldn't. Engine's super strong. Yeah, the engine's pretty durable. It takes a pretty good beating. How was everyone's Christmas? E46 330 Ci and see how it compares. It's slower for sure versus an N52. You're all-wheel drive though, so the rear-wheel drive E46 might feel a bit more fast compared to your car, a little more responsive. Out of all N51 and N52 tunes, is 22 RPD the best in terms of selection and quality and performance? Well, that's what I run on my car. So you could take that for what it's worth. I wouldn't run any other tune on my personal car. I work at 22 RPD, obviously, but I've seen their process, and I talk to the tuner pretty much every day, and he's a wizard at what he does. So I would definitely recommend going with 22 RPD, especially since we have a dedicated customer support staff at 22 RPD. So if you actually need to hear back, need help with your tune or revisions and stuff like that, we have a good response time, and all of our tunes are developed in-house on the dyno here, and a lot of development's been done on my personal car. So I fully trust the tuner and all the guys at 22 RPD. What's up, Aiden? It was good. Spent it with family. Hope yours was good too. Yep, spent it with my fiance here. Just a nice, relaxing evening. Just got some takeout and hung out. Raining here in Seattle, so I didn't really go out and do anything. Good. What about you? Glad to hear it. Yeah, we just stayed in for Christmas. Had our own little thing. Oh, Chris, you're rear-wheel drive? I thought you were all-wheel drive for some reason. Yeah, the E46 will definitely feel slower than your rear-wheel drive N52. The CIs are good cars, though. I had a E46 330 Ci years ago, one of my earlier BMWs. They're solid too. What's up, man? About to replace my rod bearings. Anything I should look out for or replace while I'm there? I don't see a lot of people having to do the rod bearings. I'm guessing you have to do your oil pan already or something, so you're in there. Not usually an issue on the N52s, especially at your mileage and stock red line. In regards to things to look out or replace while you're in there, obviously the oil pan gasket, I would only use genuine BMW on that. You don't want to have any kind of, bless you, you don't want to have any kind of quality control issues on a job like that with an aftermarket gasket because it's a lot of work. Replace all of those oil pan bolts because they're one-time use. I guess the only other thing to look out for would be to check your oil pickup and make sure none of the last owners have slipped a belt and sucked in a ripped up accessory belt through the front mainsail, and just make sure there's no crud in your oil pan. That's all I could think of. Chris, you had a E46 before, right? How does it feel apart from being slower than N52? Is the driving experience better? Yeah, I've probably had I've had at least 20, probably closer to 25 E46s because I used to fix and flip them, but I would drive them while they were being sold. Compared to the E90, I guess they're a little more raw feeling. Not much, but I guess it's a little bit more of a raw feel to it. They definitely feel slower. The automatic transmission is significantly worse over the ZF and the E90. The manual transmissions feel pretty good, but definitely worse than the E90 as well. Steering feels pretty similar. It's hydraulic power steering. It's heavy. Yeah, I would say just drive one and see what you think. I probably wouldn't go back to one after having an E90 personally, but as like an extra car, I wouldn't mind one. Ever gonna bring back the Root Supercharger for the N52? No, definitely not. The 22 RPD Supercharger I have on now is so much better. It's only making like 300 wheel horsepower with that Root Supercharger, but I was at Colorado elevation, so that definitely affected things too. Now I'm at sea level here in Washington. But yeah, the Roots sounded really cool, but it didn't have that high RPM pull that the centrifugal has from 22 RPD. It's kind of just like low end torque. And it was a lot of work to install it, and it took up a lot of space in the engine bay. So I definitely wouldn't get a different supercharger versus the 22 RPD one. It is the best one you can get right now. What's up, Bobby? 2 times. If you moved on to another platform, what would it be? Probably a B58 or a M57. I'd get like a 340i or a 335D. M57 is a good platform to go to. Yeah, I like the M57s a lot. All aluminum bolts shouldn't be reused. Absolutely, yes. Is it nonsense or true that the K&N filter and cabin air filter just need cleanings and are lifetime usage? Yeah, that is true. I wouldn't get a reusable cabin air filter though. I would just buy a one-time use one. What's up, Chef Ray? Got the same name as me. Do you recommend deleting secondary air pump on N51 Sulev? Can 22 RPD code out the EAC sensor? It's really up to you. You can. It wouldn't really make a difference performance-wise, as far as I know. But if you want to clean up that engine bay, sure. Any reason why my 328i extra stutter and jolt when I'm coming to a stop? I don't know if it's because of weather or possibly spark plugs. And do you think 22 RPD tune will get rid of that jolt feel? The 22 RPD tune will not fix any mechanical issues. And so if you have any issues, it's not going to fix that. I'm not sure. It's kind of hard to diagnose something based on just the info I have here without actually going to the car in person and doing an in-depth diag. Some things you could check, your transmission fluid level. If it's jolting when it shifts down into first coming to a stop, it could be low on fluid, or the transmission could have issues. Yeah, it's kind of hard to guess here. And then obviously do your regular maintenance. Either way, do your spark plugs, coil packs, fix any vacuum leaks. But it kind of sounds like it's shifting down into first and jerking. So check your trans fluid and maybe do a transmission service. Bobby, how much NOS can an N52 take before I kill it? I've seen people kill it on a 125 shot. So I always ran a 100 shot. I never killed an engine at 100. I killed my last engine by backing out the crane cub bolt with the Roots Supercharger. It never had issues at 100 shot of NOS, so that's usually what I recommend sticking with. The issue with Nitrous is it adds a ton of torque, which is a bit more tough on the motor versus like a Supercharger is not a lot of torque, but it adds a lot of horsepower up top. So Nitrous, you got to be a little bit conservative with, probably a 100 shot. If you want to be really conservative, probably a 50 shot. Got new front rotors and pads, and I still get some vibration in the wheel when hard braking. Check your front thrust arms. Those front control arms can go bad and make the steering wheel shake under braking. And also you should do a break-in procedure on those brakes according to Akibono's instructions. So just Google Akibono ceramic pad bed-in procedure on Google and do that as well. Where's your ignition wiring harness grounded, the valve cover bolts, or the valve cover? That's a good question. Let me check a picture, because I've moved the ground a couple times just for cosmetic purposes. I want to say I have it on the valve cover. Let's see. I don't have a picture handy of that side of the engine, but I'm pretty sure it's on that first, on the front of the valve cover where the coil packs bolts on to ground. I think I have it on top of that wiring harness on the, oh, so yeah, it's definitely not the valve cover bolts. It's on the valve cover itself. I just use a one-time use and not lifetime use for air filter and cabin filter. How often do you replace both? Yeah, I would definitely, well, on the Supercharger, my air filter is K&N reusable, but the cabin air filter, yeah, I use a one-time use. I just replace it when I think of it, probably like once every 6 months. The K&N filter, I think you are supposed to clean it like every 2 oil changes, depending on how much you drive and how dirty the air is by you. E90 Gabe, what's up, dude? Yo, how's the N52 running? It's running great. It runs really good. The only issue I had was the old transmission, which was already slipping before I put the Supercharger kit on. It started hurting more, adding 200 horsepower. But after I replaced the transmission, I've had 0 issues. It runs good, and I just went down to a 3.25-inch pulley, which made the boost kick in sooner. So now it's got like more torque down low, and it's super responsive. Go ahead and hit that like button, guys. That helps push the video up in the algorithm. I appreciate all the likes it's always awkward asking for likes, but yeah, it definitely helps the channel if you guys are watching. Smash that freaking like button. Thank you. Fafa N52. It's an automatic trans. What were we talking about here? Oh yeah, so I think you should probably check your transmission fluid level. And before that, I would check if that jolt is when it's shifting down into first, so that you can actually tell if it's your transmission doing that. So pay attention to that, if it's on that downshift or not. What are your thoughts on painting the calipers and the hubs? Have you ever done that to hide the rust? Well, you shouldn't really paint over rust. You should sand that off. What I would recommend is getting rid of the rust first and then painting to prevent more rust. I have VHT high temp paint on my calipers. It's starting to flake off pretty good now, but I've had it on for like 4 years now, maybe even 5. I think I'm gonna pull my calipers at some point and have them powder coated. I'm just not sure what color yet. Asking about that ground because I'm having issues. Messaged you on Facebook a couple of days back. I'm trying to remember our conversation on that. Yeah, but yeah, the ground should be on the valve cover. Some models have it on the what is it called? The secondary air pump that's blocked off on the N52. Some of the grounds go to one of those bolts, and I believe that's on the plastic valve cover. When you do your brakes, do you always do pads and rotors at the same time? I have in the past, and but now I kind of have more expensive rotors. I've got 2-piece rotors, so I've just done the last service I did. I just did the pads because those rotors are like $800, so I'm not going to replace them until they really need to be replaced. Chef Ray, should I buy 22 RPD Supercharger tune ahead of time and send data back before I install Supercharger so I don't have to wait a couple days for a tune when it comes time to install it? Give me a little more info on that. Are you buying a like a used kit, a used ESS kit, and you want to buy our tune for it, or are you buying the 22 RPD upgraded Supercharger kit and then tuning it? Give me a little more info on that. Bobby, 2 times. I have to get my exhaust worked on to fit the ollie headers. Do you think it would be safe to run open headers just to drive to the shop? I'm getting it worked on at. Yeah, I've done that before. Maybe bring some earplugs because it'll be excruciatingly loud. But yeah, that's fine. Make sure you have your O2 sensors installed and those. Best break-in procedure for new valve cover. You don't need to do any kind of break-in procedure for that. Just slap it in and use ISTA Plus to relearn your Valvetronic motor positions. But yeah, there's no need to break it in. First name, last name. Yo, you ever replaced your Vanos valve stem seals and or lifters? About to do both on mine. Just curious if you have any tips or anything. I've never actually had to replace either of those things. Oh, valve stem seals you meant, and cam ledge bang seals. Okay. Yeah, I haven't had to replace any of that stuff on any of my engines. I would say, yeah, I actually don't have any tips for you on that. I would recommend buying a Bentley manual for your car because that'll have every single torque spec for the engine and step-by-step procedures. For stuff like that, it's probably the best investment you can make if you work on your own car besides Bimmer Geeks Pro Tool. What's your opinion about average fuel consumption, 6 kilometers, 1 liter for N52 B25 stock? First of all, what the hell is a kilometer? Average fuel consumption for a B25, not really sure because we don't have those in the States. We have the B30. So I've never looked into that. That would probably be a Google on that one. I don't have any first-hand experience there. Have I ever driven an N52 Z4? Nope, I have not. I average 30 miles per gallon on my B30, mostly highway. That's really good. I just picked up a 2010 328 with N51, needs a T-case, every piece of rubber replaced under the hood, but other than that, it's mint. Should I turbo the N51 or LS swap it? Well, if you can do fabrication yourself, a turbo kit is pretty easy to do. You just need to find someone to tune it, which is more of the hard part. So LS swap would be like, I think their LSE9X, the builds I've seen are around 10 grand. So yeah, it's really up to you. If you have like, if you can fabricate, it's cheap to turbo, but if you want to spend money, LS swap. LS is sweet on an E90 though. Could I potentially strengthen the N52 on nitrous by doing the pin crank? It's more of an issue with the rods and the wrist pins for all that torque. It's not necessarily the crank hub. It's a good idea to do if you're adding 100 plus horsepower to the wheels. So I'd probably do it anyways if you're playing in nitrous. But it's going to be more of like a built motor type deal if you want it to be strong for like 125 plus shot. So yeah. Why are you running DWS06? I know they're a great all-season tire, but why not dedicated summers? Well, I live in Seattle now, so it's pretty much mild weather and rain most of the year. So the DWS perform good in like below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a lot of the year, and in the wet. I did have a set of summer tires, which were my Falcon RT 615K Plus, and I had those on my Enki wheels, but someone stole them. So that's the reason I don't have summers right now. Does the N51 already come with stage 3 manifold? Yes, it is. Yes, it does come with that. Is it worth tuning stock N51 with just the 3-stage manifold? Yeah, definitely get a tune for the N51 because they are pretty detuned from the factory. And you definitely can take advantage of that 3-stage manifold you already have. Yeah, we have a lot of stock N51s that get tuned by us. And here's the link to that. Merry Christmas, Raymond. Merry Christmas, Micah. Are there PDFs for Bentley manifold? Are there PDFs for Bentley manuals? I got mine printed off at work for the sake of an industrial printer. Oh, you're telling me that there are. Yeah, well, there you go. That's definitely an option too. When the N52 is finally dialed, I want to see it in person, bro. Yeah, I mean, it's ready to rip right now. You could definitely swing by and check it out. Hit me up. Too much to deal with, especially when the fuel system craps out on N51. Yeah, there's more components I can fill for sure on those. I cracked my valve cover. What's the best option between pick and pull and FCP Euro and China? Plastic or magnesium? Daniel, how much horsepower are you making right now? Should be close to like 460 at the wheels. The last dyno was I did 440 at the wheels, but it was pulling timing up top. I think I was running out of injector because the E85 I have in it is actually E90 from the pump, so I need to dilute it a little bit for how much my injectors can flow at that power. So without pulling timing, it should be around 460. N51 King. Oni Wan Shinobi. What's up? 2011 328. 6-speed manual. What's the best way to get the rack and pinion out? I've had nothing but steering issues with the car so far. You should just have to unbolt the tie rods and take the 2 bolts out from the subframe and slide it out. I forget how the X-Drive looks underneath. I've only had rear-wheel drives for a while, so there's obviously more stuff under the all-wheel drive. But yeah, I'd probably check YouTube for that, see if anyone did a video. Holy crap, sorry to hear that someone stole the NQ wheels and the tires. Yeah, it sucks. I really liked those NQ wheels. You can't buy them anymore. And those tires were my favorite tires too. So yeah, I was pretty bummed that someone stole those right from the side of my house. You've got the plastic valve cover. So I would just get a OEM replacement. The aluminum ones are not good anymore. There's fitment issues. Just get a aftermarket OEM valve cover from like maybe check Rock Auto. They probably got them the cheapest. Is the 460 build N52 or N51? It's my N52 and my 330i, my supercharged 330i. Do you need a tune? How much horsepower gains are projected with the velocity stacks? I made 270 wheel horsepower on the velocity stacks, and you absolutely do need a tune, which is included with the velocity stacks once we release them. Chef Ray, I'm just buying the tune. I have a Rochex Supercharger. Okay. We have a bunch of guys running the Rochex Superchargers too. Should I send data to 22 RPD and get the tune file back ahead of time? That way I can have the supercharger installed and tuned the same day. Yeah, you might as well. You can definitely do your DME read and send it to us, and that'll definitely knock out the first couple steps to getting tuned. Getting it, yeah, so you can absolutely do what you're thinking about. Yeah, that makes sense to me. You could buy the tune, do your DME read, send it in, and then get it back before you install the supercharger. You would obviously know that install the supercharger first before you flash the tune. And if you don't already have them, get Porsche 911 injectors. The part number ends in 123. We're doing that on all supercharger kits now, the Porsche injectors. What do you think about JXB drive shaft carrier? Do you think it could improve throttle response? I've never heard of that. Let me Google that. Oh, I see. So it's the center support bearing or whatever. I'm looking at it now. So it's $250, and it looks like it probably just has less play than the stock one. So it looks like it will increase NVH. Okay, so they are saying that it has a better throttle response and shifts and stuff. I wouldn't spend the money on N52 non-boosted. I would put that money towards a tune. Yeah, I have the stock center support bearing on my car with supercharger. I don't have any issues with launching or throttle response. And mine's actually kind of worn out too. Any idea what the difference is between the E90 xDrive 6MT and the E60 version? No, I'm not sure. How much boost can a stock N51 take? Looking for a reliable 400 horse track car. If the N51 can pull that off, the LS swap doesn't make sense. I'm an engineer welder, so fab work is no issue. It's a good question. I haven't seen too many people really push the N51 firsthand. I think there is a couple guys in the boosted N52 group with boosted N51s that are making around that. but I don't know what kind of driving they do, if they're tracking it or not. I wish I could give you a better answer on that, but it's kind of tough when I don't have experience with it myself. I would say, just for the sake of reliability on the track and not knowing really about a high boost N51s, I would say if you could be happy with 350 wheel horsepower, send it. But if you want more than 350 for like a road racing car on an N51, because they do have weaker rods than the N52, and you're tracking it and racing it, I would maybe lean towards the LS. But that's just me kind of brainstorming there. There might be guys running the N51 with no problems at like 500 horsepower. I'm just not sure off the top of my head. I would recommend joining on Facebook the boosted N52 builds, or I think it's N52 boosted builds, and search N51 in the search bar and see what other guys are making. And that would probably be a better answer for you. Velocity stacks vastly superior over 3-stage intake and N54 intake. Over the N54 intake on my car, it made more power everywhere. And yeah, there is no failure points, no DESAs. It makes more power versus the 3-stage everywhere at high RPMs. We need to do a dyno again. The 3-stage intake manifold car we were dynoing, one of the cats was failing from his gunshot tune, so we didn't get great data compared to the 3-stage intake. But we know the N54 intake makes more power above, I think, 3,500 RPM over the 3-stage intake, and the velocity stacks made more power everywhere, starting from 0 over the N54 intake manifold. Were the MILVs you're running utilized with the intake trumpets, or is 270 horsepower reachable with them without the MILVs? I know I'll probably need the injectors to make that, but uncertain. You shouldn't need injectors to make that much power on pump gas. I do have MILVs in my car, but it's kind of debated now on whether they add power or not. I'm not really sure if they do at this point. Some people posted dynos, like reputable shops, BPC posted dynos years and years ago showing gains, but now shops recently are measuring the lift and saying that they don't add lift. So I'm really not sure if they make a difference. But we did 275 wheel horsepower on an N54 intake manifold car on a manual car. And he didn't have MILVs. So I would say you probably don't. I say you probably can get that without MILVs. And that was 270 wheel horsepower, not horsepower, which is like 317 at the crank. I need to get a drink, guys. Hit that like button if you're watching, you haven't already, and I'll be right back. Okay, what else we got? Ramon, DIY mechanic from the UK, plan on upgrading your MILVs. What should I be mindful of not to mess things up, or should I just go to the mechanic shop? You're a new DIY mechanic. Little iffy of a job to do if you're really new to working on your car. It's a valve cover gasket job as well. If you're really new and you're not comfortable doing it, I'd probably take it to a shop. But the main thing is not to unscrew the the Torx bolts you have to loosen up to install them. If you loosen them up too much, the springs will pop out, and then you have to get a special tool to put them back in. So that's the main thing. Once you've changed your mills, you'll then change your headers. Do you wait until you finish bolt jobs and then get a tune, or get a tune after each modification? Appreciate your help. Wait till you do both and then get a 22 RPD tune. We'll tune you for both of those things. Who do you plan on going with for your TCU remap? 22 RPD. Did not know about the rods being different. That's very good info to know. I'll have to get into that group, but I'm inclined to boost it after seeing your N52 build. Yeah, the other thing that's nice too is they're super cheap. Like even if you blow up your N51, you can throw an N52 in it for like $500. And obviously you're a capable mechanic, so you're not paying labor on that. Glad I finally got notified that you went live. I've been trying to get on the Velocity Stack beta tester list, but I have the least desirable love convo, N51 and X-Drive. Oh, dang. Is there any hope for me? I think we're full right now in our beta 2 test. I think we do have all the slots filled, unfortunately. But we are planning on releasing them to the public next year. Definitely appreciate your interest. We just had like 200 applications, so it did fill up super quickly. And we were looking for more, like you said, we were looking for more for rear-wheel drive manual cars for this run. But yeah, nothing against your N51 all-wheel drive or anything like that. Those spots just filled up super quick. But yeah, keep an eye out the next coming months for updates. We got some exciting stuff related to the velocity stacks in the pipeline. So yeah, just watch for that. Mika, okay, sounds good. Thanks for bringing in the manual part, as that was my next question relating to largest differences between our cars. Still working on sorting the exhaust. Sorry guys, I'm a little brain dead tonight. What did we what were we talking about? Manual? Bring the man part. Oh yeah. On the dyno. Yeah. That was what's his name? It's a guy with an E30 with an N52 swapped into it. He's another local guy too. He had his car here. But yeah, he did 275 a wheel on the on his manual, and that the velocity stacks would have made even more than that on his car. So, do you have any info on the difference of drivetrain loss between the 6MT slush box and the newer ZF8s? I'm leaning towards the 8HP, but may go 6MT swap instead. I don't have any concrete data on that, actually. I have heard that the 8HP does have less loss over the 6HP, definitely less than the GM. The 6MT obviously has the least, no matter what. But I would go, me personally, I'd go with the ZF8. I think that would be a kind of negligible drivetrain loss versus the manual, and it would make up for it with those shift speeds. Does 22 RPD do a TCU remap remotely? It's in progress. We don't currently do the 6HP 19, and we're working on something for the 6HP 21 on my car. Will do. Appreciate the response. I signed up for the first beta earlier this year, but will definitely be a customer as soon as it releases. Appreciate that. Okay, so you applied for the first beta, I see. Just keep an eye out on mine and 22 RPD's Instagram. We'll post any updates there. Is it possible to retrofit folding mirrors when you lock the car and comfort access? Yeah, you could retrofit that stuff. There's guides on E90 posts to do that. Besides fuel pump injectors and intercooler, is there anything else I'll need to support 450 wheel horsepower engine-wise. You'll want to go to the N54 intake manifold if you haven't already, instead of the 3-stage intake manifold. You'll want good fuel, probably 93 octane minimum, maybe probably an ethanol blend if you're not running meth injection. The intercooler will help with that though too. Lower IATs will help with not needing as high octane fuel. Headers as well. You'll want headers. That's pretty much it. Oh, and you should pin your crank hub too while you're in there. That's definitely a good idea at that power level. And also, it would be a good idea to gap your rings at 450 wheel horsepower. Gap them for boost. Or maybe I just go supercharged, but then the M3 will be jealous. Yeah, supercharger's a ton of fun too. It doesn't sound as good as the velocity stack stuff. And just like that, I'm sold on boosting the N51 and throwing an 8 HP in it. Nice. That will be cool. Since you mentioned the rods being weaker, what's the best rod options if I swap them? N52, 54, 55, or aftermarket? I'd go aftermarket at that point if you're already pulling them out. And I would also recommend checking, because obviously you're going to have to pull the N51 to do rods. So if you're already pulling it, you might be better off selling the N51 because they generally do sell for more than the N52, and then just buying an N52, which is more robust to begin with and cheaper, and then using that extra money you get from that to go towards upgraded rods. And I would use aftermarket at that point. But yeah, just a suggestion, you might pocket some extra money if you're already pulling that N51 by switching to N52. What's the reliability difference between your N52 and N54 making the same horsepower? Well, I've had N54s making the same horsepower, and I would still, even with maintenance, I would still be driving on the highway with my JB4 MHD tablet, clearing limp modes, clearing the code so that the car would keep going forwards. Just always, and the N54s I've had, there's always just some weird random issues popping up all the time. And then obviously there's the big issues, the injectors, water pump, high pressure fuel pump. And then it's a lot more finicky. Just like codes for like the smallest thing, and just going to limp mode when you're driving on the highway, and especially when you're driving it hard, just kind of really annoying. My N52, I don't have to clear limp modes. I don't have to pull over and on the highway and clear limp modes, turn the car on and off like the N54s. I haven't had any issues with my N52, so I would definitely say the N52 Supercharged is still more reliable than N54 with the same power level. Will the 22 RBD tune go on sale? We don't have any more sales planned for this year. The last sale we had was Black Friday. So if you're holding out for a sale, it likely won't be until late next year if we have another one, which I'm not sure if we will. So yeah, I wouldn't wait on that if you want to get your car tuned. Why do N54s sound like dog poo? It's just kind of from being twin turbo and dual exhaust. You can make them sound better if you switch to single exhaust, and then you can make them sound better yet if you switch to single turbo. That's the two main issues, that they don't sound good, and that's why the N55 sounds a lot better. Any gains or losses with ethanol-free fuel on an NA setup? No, not really. I prefer having ethanol in the car. I run either an ethanol mix or full ethanol currently on the Supercharger. And then when I was NA, I ran like E20 just to boost up our Seattle 92 octane gas. So I wouldn't spend the extra for ethanol free. Doesn't the water pump last much longer than N52 or N54? Yeah, it absolutely does, especially because it doesn't get as hot. Those twin turbos down there get super hot, and that goes right by the water pump. I'm still on my water pump from my my original water pump from when I bought the car like 3 years ago. So yeah, N54 definitely worse in that regard. This car sat completely unused for 2 years. Engine out service was the plan the moment I bought this POS. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to help us all. Glad I found you. Yeah, no problem. I love to do it to help you guys out with your builds. People helped me out a lot when I first got into BMWs, and so I definitely like to return the favor. I believe it's because the N54 uses its high-end RPM more often, and the water pump burns the turbine out. Again, I believe that could make sense too. In addition to the extra heat from the turbos, it also needs to run higher RPMs more often since the engine's getting hotter as well. Regarding the velocity stacks, what do you do with the crankcase, vent, fuel breather, etc. hoses? We have guides that we send out to the customers for all that, but basically most of the guys go vent to atmosphere on the crankcase vent with a catch can, and then we have a tap that we recommend to use the fuel breather that goes into the velocity stacks. Hunter, I have yet to research it any yet, to be honest. I'm in an emission state. How do the DMEs handle giving less than honest info to the emissions OBD scan allegedly? Can't help you out there. What would happen if I don't put headers with the Supercharger? To be honest, I like how my car sounds now. I don't want to change the sound that much with headers. You really need to at that power level, unfortunately. The more you let that engine breathe, the less strain it's going to be from the Supercharger, the less PSI you're going to have to run for the same power. Those cats will really be a bottleneck at that horsepower level. Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, you can install the Supercharger to begin without the headers, but you're definitely eventually going to want to get rid of those cats there. Body 2 times. Can you describe the power fuel curve between the N54 stock twins up boost, N52 Supercharge? Yeah, so on my N54s, I've had like my 135i 6MT. There's a lot of torque down low. This is on a full bolt-on car and tuned with JB4 and MHD backend, which was the best at the time. And you'd get a lot of torque down low, put you back in the seat, and then as the RPMs increase, it would fall off towards red line, and then you'd shift, and it would kind of be really torquey low end, but it would fall off on the top end. Still fast, still fun, but versus the N52 that I have now supercharged, it has less low end torque, a substantially less low end torque versus N54 twin turbo, but the boost increases with RPM. So the more RPM you give it, it just keeps getting faster. So it's kind of a cool sensation versus the N54. You have the power down low and then it falls off. The N52, you floor it and it keeps getting faster and faster with the Supercharger because the boost will keep building up with the RPM. So it's definitely cool. And also the N54 is a lot more, what's the word? The N52 Supercharger is super linear. If you've seen the dyno charts I've posted, it's literally just an angle like that going straight up with RPM. So super easy to control, and when you're cornering and stuff like that, it's very predictable. versus the N54, the turbo spooling, unspooling, and then there's a more aggressive torque curve, and so it's much less linear. So I prefer the supercharged N52 based on how I drive and how I like the car to feel. It's kind of, it does not fall off ever. It just keeps going. The power delivery in the N52 is more satisfying over the N54. Yeah, I agree. I think I'm on an 18-year-old water pump. I have no idea if it's been replaced, but it's still going strong. Yeah, I don't even know how old my water pump is, if the last owner replaced it or not. I think I did the thermostat at one point. I can't remember. Understood. Thanks again for all the info. Be easier for one. No problem, Hunter. Thanks for stopping in. E90 Maddox. Excited for velocity stacks. Do daily or supercharged N52? Yeah, it's my only car right now, and I drive it every day. And I drive it a lot, actually. Take it on road trips and everything. Vast difference, but I want to know your opinion. E90 325 versus F30 330i. Well, the 330i F30, I think, is a B48. Let me Google that. Okay, I can't find anything immediately, but I'm pretty sure that's the B48. So B48s are pretty good engines. They're way better than the N20, and also you get the 8 HP, which is way better than the 6 HP in that chassis. However, you switch to electric steering, and it is heavier, so you do lose steering feel and a raw feeling and connected to the road feeling versus the E90 going to the F30, but you do get a 4-cylinder B58 basically in the 330. And full bolt-on, they can be pretty quick. Obviously, you already have a turbo on that platform, and then you can tune that 8 HP with X HP. So I think they're respectable dailies. They're definitely faster than a naturally aspirated 325, especially with a couple bolt-ons. I think they do have some issues with like the oil filter housing being plastic or something like that. I haven't looked into it too deeply. But yeah, I think they're good cars from what I've seen. And the 8 HP is an awesome transmission, so I don't think you could really go wrong with those. And good MPGs on a turbo 4-cylinder. What's the highest mileage N51 you've seen supercharged? I'm at 150K right now, but I've done most of the supporting mods. Probably 200 plus. I supercharged mine at like my last one at my N52 though, not N51. I supercharged it at 220K, something like that. What power can you expect on a 128 NA with simple mods? In Australia, we get 215 horsepower stock. So on an N52 128i with headers, N54 intake manifold, and just an intake, you can make up to like 275 low horsepower on the 22 RPD tune on a manual. And that's with headers as well. I forget if I said that or not. Thoughts on the N20? I think it's garbage. F30 is B48, yes. Okay, yeah. My cousin just got a B48 G20. I need to make N52 faster, LOL. I think I should be faster than those on the supercharge on the I was looking on Draggy the other day to compare like quarter mile and stuff. So yeah, you could beat them probably with the supercharger kit if you turn up the boost. Is it true the 335 IS uses the same DCT out of the E90 M3? I think there's some differences in like the programming and stuff. And obviously the bell housing would be different, but functionally I think it's pretty similar. Ethan, the 130 can make 265, assuming you're talking about a manual, it should be on par with E90s. Yeah. Did you have no issues with the 200K mile supercharger? I did have issues, but that was a custom supercharger kit that I made. My friend helped me fabricate it. It was a Roots supercharger from a Thunderbird, and it makes a lot of torque down low, and I think it added more strain to the crank hub, and the crank hub ended up backing out on that setup at 240K. But if I would have pinned that crank hub, I wouldn't have had any issues. But it was fine for like 20K. Any issues with the ZF trans in your E90? No, none at all. I need to do the transmission solenoids, but that's just regular maintenance. And my 6HP19 I had died. Well, it didn't fully die, but it started acting up at 230K miles. I think 220K is when I pulled it, and I installed the 335 6HP21. Was hoping if I sold both my cars to make 250 horsepower. My other option was to sell my other car and push 550 on the Ford Falcon, but really love the sound of the N52s. Well, yeah, you can get headers for $300 off AliExpress. HC Racing is the brand, and then 22 RBD tune is like $450, and then the N54 intake manifold you can get for around $50. So around $1,000 for about 300 plus at the crank. Do manual E90s make more power? The engine doesn't make more power, but it puts more power to the ground because it doesn't have to pass through a torque converter. Why did BMW decide to end production of naturally aspirated after E90? Probably just for emissions and gas mileage. It takes a lot more gas to make a NA car as fast as the modern turbo cars. So yeah, that's probably why. Hydraulic steering as well. That's probably just emissions as well, and fuel mileage. How do you stop the front splash shield from drooping? Zip ties and putting the bolts in it. The N52 is a placeholder for the N54 as it had taken too long to manufacture and engineer, I believe. I haven't heard that before. Appreciate your time to answer questions and keeping this platform alive. We'll be waiting eagerly for those velocity stacks. Best of luck to you and your company. Thanks, Ben. I appreciate that. Invaluable N52 information here. I try my best. Peace out. See you later, man. Are there any downsides as to having the blacktop N52 with the plastic valve cover? It can warp and crack. It's more inclined to have issues versus the magnesium, but they still last for like 100K miles if you just replace it. For anyone who hasn't seen this before, this is my link to my private Discord, and this is where you can ask me questions like I'm answering here now, but I can go more in depth in replying to them. It's $10 a month, and you get first response from me 24/7. unless I'm sleeping, obviously. And if you have any questions or you need help or you want advice on your setup, you can ask me any question you want in this Discord here. And I have it on my phone, so whenever you ask it, I can get back to you ASAP versus these live streams is kind of just whenever I have a little free time to hop on. That money goes into N52 development. I appreciate all the guys that already joined. Anyone that does join the Discord, definitely appreciate that. So yeah, if you need help or you want quick responses and stuff like that, and my full attention to help you out more thoroughly, you can click that link I just sent here to join that YouTube membership to get in the private Discord. I like your track setup for your wheels. Just love a meaty setup. Any rubbing issues on road? There's a little bit of rub up front with the 10mm spacers I have on now. It rubs on the fender. I could add more camber, but I like where the camber is at right now. I'm at negative 2.5. But if I went to a smaller spacer, I wouldn't have any rubbing at all. E99 will always look better in timeless than the E92 IMO. I'm going to guess you meant E90. Yeah, I like the E90 LCI rear end, and I like the E92 pre-LCI front end. So I think the E90 M3 is the best looking E9X. E90 LCI taillights are far more aggressive. Yeah, I agree. Can the velocity stacks work for the E86 C4 N52? Yeah, I think we have one running those right now, actually. When you're indecisive, every gen of Bimmer looks good, bro. Yeah, until you get to the G series. Just kidding. Most BMWs look good. I heard they're actually, I don't know if this is true, but I heard that the designer that did all the huge grille designs on the newer BMWs is getting replaced with a different designer. So that'll definitely be interesting. I hope they kind of go back to the aesthetics of the E90 generation with the smaller grills. Can I put an M52 intake manifold on an N51? I don't know why you do that. Just do, that would probably be a downgrade. The ports wouldn't line up either. Just do an N54 intake manifold or a 3-stage. I wouldn't do an M52. Best camber and toe setup for lowering springs for daily use with spirited driving. I'm trying to remember if I wrote an article on this or not. I would say max out the camber in the front. On stock suspension, that's only going to be like -1. Run like -1.5 in the rear, and then front toe do a 1/16 inch in total, so both sides together. In the rear, do an 1/8 inch toe in total between both sides. That's a pretty solid setup. Peace out, big bro. God bless. Take it easy, Brandon. Thanks for stopping in. Is there any possible way to swap to a mag cover on the plastic one? I would love an E82 LCI due to the CIC iDrive, and most 130i's in Australia are trashed. Yeah, you can. You just got to use the, you could either use the magnesium CCV system, or you could use a catch can and hoses and make your own crankcase vent system. Best mod for the N52. If you only had to get one mod, get the 22 RPD tune. It's the best gains per dollar. And it makes the whole car just drive better because all the settings are changed in the map that affect the driving improvement wise. So if you were to just get one mod, get the 22 RPD tune. The best route is to get 3 mods. You get 22 RPD tune, N54 intake manifold, or 3-stage, and then headers. And that's the best bang for the buck. Like $1,000 brings you from 200 wheel horsepower lasts to 260 plus, up to that power. So here's the link to the 22 RPD tune. I think that's the best mod for N52 if you were to just buy one. Because if you buy other mods, you need other things. Like if you did just intake manifold, you still need a tune. If you do just headers, you still want a tune. So I would go tune. Bobby, I may have asked this question in a previous stream, so I apologize, but I've seen 2 different catch can setups for N54 or plastic valve cover. Jake's setup, crankcase hose to catch can, then hose from catch can back to the bottom of the intake where the blocked off port is. Crankcase hose to catch can, and then hose down to atmosphere. Yeah, either of those works. You can't really do it the first way on a supercharged setup, since you're just blowing boost into that catch can. Since once you hit boost, the N54 or whatever manifold is pressurized. So that's not really a good way to do it. If you're boosted, you want to run it to the supercharger inlet before the boost is made, where you have vacuum. If you're NA, you can always just put it to the intake manifold, because it's always going to be under, there's never going to be pressure in there. It's going to be under vacuum. And then you can also run it to atmosphere, but it's not as good as having the crankcase under vacuum. Does the 22 RPD tune remove the governor, and how high would it go? All the way up to 160. Yeah, you can have the speed limiter removed if you want it. I don't know what the top speed is. I've never tried it to hit that. I switched to a gauge cluster that goes up to 170. I'm wondering if it's possible to go that high. LOL. You don't need to go 175 in your N52, man. You need to relax, Chris. We can remove that governor, but you don't need to be going 175 in your N52. Take it easy. What is a SAP delete? That's the secondary air pump for N51s. It should be closer to 170 or so, dependent on your gearing and horsepower realistically, but I've seen N52s push 175 on the Nürburgring. Yeah, Chris, if you fly your car out to the Nürburgring, I can fully support you going 175. If you do all your maintenance and you fix your shaking under braking, whatever that is. If not, I don't want to see you going that fast. That's a little crazy. The car would be singing nice at 175. Yeah, that definitely one way to put it. Yeah, I don't think I've gone that. I haven't even gone that fast on a Leader sport bike. Yeah, that's insane. A little bird has told me the N52 can push close to that speed very well, and it does not really shake too bad. Yeah, Chris's would, though, because Chris has got some issue with his control arms or something that he needs to fix. But yeah, I mean, they're German cars. If they're all the bushings are in good condition and everything's up to date, I mean, they're designed to be okay to drive in the Nürburgring. 130 is enough, LOL. Yeah, I think I've only had my N52 up to like 150, maybe something like that. I think like 140. Never needed to go faster than that. I mean, in the quarter mile with supercharger, mine hits almost 120. So problem is I hit 136 and the car stopped. Yeah, you probably hit your governor. But I think maybe if you get our tune, we're gonna leave your governor on, because if you don't need to be going faster than 136, Chris. We're gonna have to police your speed there. But yeah, 136 is probably just your speed limiter. E90 is such a good Autobahn car. Yeah, it is. I've never been in an Autobahn, but I do. There is a company that rents them out. They're fully caged and built for the track, and you can rent them out and drive them on the Autobahn. I forget what company it is, but it's pretty sweet. Struts are really the biggest thing for top speed, unless of course you're running over 200k miles or so. Yeah, and also you have to make sure your tires are rated for that speed. A lot of tires, most tires I'd imagine are not rated for 175 miles per hour. So yeah, definitely check the speed rating on your tires too before you're trying to go faster than 136 or whatever. I've hit 140 in my stock N52 with ZF at like 3 a.m. I don't know what's up with my car, but I have no speed limiter, LMAO. I think it's 155 on some N52s. And then it's like 140 on other ones. Is it true that S85 can hit 200 miles an hour at stock? I'm not sure. I've never had one. Not sure on that one. I think the S65 did too. Well, it's got a lot of RPMs to work with, so I could see that maybe being possible. It's got a high red line. Similar for me, I did this run recently and got to about 140 or so, but that's after building the car mainly for such runs. Still need to redo control arms with M-spec ones. S85 goes like 215. Dang, I didn't even know that. It's pretty fast. Getting my 22 RBD tune after N54 intake manifold. Excited ASF. Nice, dude. You'll definitely be happy with that. It's such a night and day difference doing the intake manifold with the tune. Definitely makes it way more lively to drive. When I got my oil change done, the mechanic was shaking the front tires and there was no movement, so I guess they're solid. Not necessarily. Sometimes under load, while you're actually driving, things can still be moving around, even if you can't shake them by hand. What are the best mods for N51? The same as N52, it's going to be headers and 22 RPD tune. I'll send you a link to my site, which is got links to headers and the tune. Those are the two best bang for the buck you can do for an N51. It's definitely worth it. I had some revisions in between tunes and logging around. The car felt so slow running normally. Such a difference. Yeah, 22 RPD tune makes a huge difference. We need to embrace N52s going 150 plus miles per hour. They're sporty cars and engines, not look at them as pedestrian daily drivers. Chris, you don't need to go 150 miles per hour. You need to go to a track or something where there's turns and you're not just going straight, and you'll learn to have more fun without going 150 miles an hour. How much more power? N51s with headers and intake. Oh, sorry, you already have the intake manifold. N51 headers, 22 RPD tune, we see up to like 30 to 40 wheel horsepower gain from just the tune and headers on those on the dyno. On tracks, don't they have long enough straights you can go near 150? Probably not in an N52. Depends on the track though, but 150 on the tracks by me would be you wouldn't hit that on a NA N52. Do you plan on adding even more power to your car, or are you chilling? I'm gonna add more power. I just want to hit like 475 just to do it. Just to show it can be done, really. Even 400 wheel horsepower is plenty for me. At this point, I'm kind of just doing it to show everyone else that you can do it. I don't even need that much power. It's already plenty. Not in Washington. Yeah, in the Washington tracks, you're not hitting 150 on an NA N52. There's no chance. Is it just me, or is the power up there past like 80, similar stock for stock in N52 and N54? Trying to remember my stock N54s. The N52 definitely pulls harder at that speed, just due to the gearing and the airflow, I guess. N54, I can't really remember how mine was stock up there, because I usually did bolt-ons pretty soon after buying my 335s. Yeah, the N54 can, the stock turbos on stock tune kind of fall off up top, so I can see that maybe being true. For the guys just joining us, this is the link to, where'd you go? There it is. For the guys just joining us, here is the link to my private Discord, and this is where you can ask me questions 24/7 about your build or whatever you need help with, and I get back to you ASAP. Like same concept as the Q&A live streams I do, except it's fast answers, and it's not just random live streams where you can ask me questions. You can ask me questions at any time. So that link is in the messages I just sent now. That YouTube link is the YouTube membership link. And yeah, that's how you can get to there. I'm going straight to N54 manifold from single stage intake. Could you compare the feeling between both manifolds? The N54 manifold from a single stage, I haven't had a single stage in like 5 years probably. But when I put the N54 intake on, there's like gains everywhere pretty much over the single stage, so it should feel better pretty much everywhere versus that single stage. Apart from the engine, don't the E90 N54 and E90 N52 drive basically the same? The N52 is lighter up front, so technically it has better handling. But I mean, it's the same chassis, so it's fairly similar. I think all around the car pulls harder. Mine's not stock with the stock 3-stage AA headers and the basic intake stuff until the trumpets come out. Yeah, that stuff all makes a good difference. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thanks everyone who stopped in and said what's up. Like I said, Discord link is in that message with the youtube.com link. If you guys need any help when I'm not live streaming, that's the place to do it. I can't always get back to everyone on Instagram because messages do get buried and I run out of time to reply to everyone. Thanks again, everyone that comes in and that has been coming into live streams. It's really cool to see the same people joining in every time I stream. And anyone new that has joined, I appreciate you stopping by to watch my stuff. And I hope everyone had a Merry Christmas. And if I don't talk to you guys before New Year's, Happy New Year's as well. And best of luck on everyone's builds going into the new year. Have a good night, guys.